Hi, my name is Alessandro Gangelosi and that's a video tutorial coming from cgcookie.com for Max Cookie. This time I like to finalize this project, the Photoreal interior with VRay, because it is time to move to a more complex tutorial series related to VRay and architectural stuff. So the first thing I like to do is to tweak some stuff and finalize the lighting and the shading. So the first thing I like to check is to see if we need to add something there on this part of the environment. And we can add something really simple, maybe something like another furniture, a little furniture there, just to have something inside the scene. Then I like to tune a little bit the shaders, and then we can play with the lighting and more stuff related to render passes. So let's close this part and let's move to this area. I like to prepare something not so big, so we can think to use the extended primitives, the chamfer boxes. Okay, that's the first one. Let's start moving, and we can do something not so high, maybe a little bit less than the main furniture we prepared there. Then the fillet can be lower, so let's go for perspective and zoom to this mesh. Let's go for 0.25, maybe just a little bit more. Okay, so then the height is too much. Let's go for 3, and then let's go for 10 centimeters and 180. Okay, maybe it can be higher, so something like that can be enough. We need maybe to have more pieces, so this one can stay there, and then we can go to have more, and let's do something like having 4 with an instance, so 3 copies, and you see that's the amount of space. Maybe we can have 2 more, so Ctrl Z. So let's go for having 5 copies. Nice. And then we can model the other stuff, but you know, this one is really simple, so let's use this one, and above 6 piece, go in the isolation, zoom to this one. Okay, then from this point of view we can use again the chamfer box. We can go for 0.3 and move it there, so we have contact between the 2 surfaces. Nice. We can say that the height is, let's say, 4 centimeters. It is high, maybe 5, let's say 7 centimeters, and let's move it to go to contact. Then we can make a clone, but it can be not so long, so let's say maybe 50 centimeters, 55, and it can stay in the middle. Okay, nice. And we can move it there. Then from the top view we can zoom out and making a clone using the shift key. but maybe we can before finalize the model. So back with another chamfer box, and from this point of view we can zoom out and we go for something high enough. There's not a problem there. Let's go for 0.35 and we can align to this one. Then we move and we go also to have it, let's say, there, so we can scale this one, and this one can be something around 50 centimeters. So then this one must be with the right scaling and at the right position, and you see that it must be it must stay on the ground. So let's move using this one. Okay, nice. And then we need another copy using the shift key. Okay, now now we can pick both and we can make a copy. Okay, and to have the right space we can make a copy for this one using the shift key. Then we can scale it, let's say 100 centimeters. Then we can be sure that it is touching there, and let's say 0.3. And then we can pick both there, zoom, and we can move it just a little bit to be in contact. Okay, now you see that we have some parts 3D. I like to scale this one, let's say maybe let's say 15 centimeters, and then we need again some meshes there. So let's go to the front with a wireframe and change to crossing, and then using the shift key we can copy it. So this one can stay there, but we can move this one in the middle over the x-axis. Okay, and then we have to be sure just to scale it because you see the other one is a little bit more bigger. So now we are ready to make a material. Let's use the window. Okay, and let's prepare a new material. Let's say that we remove this one, and let's say black glossy. So this material is a black material. Let's go in the camera. Let's find a camera that can have a nice visualization for this model. We can exit from this one, go at full screen, and we are talking about a freshening reflection with white color and just a little bit of reflection glossiness. We can save and we can go to render preview. So let's use a low quality render. Okay, and render. So that's the actual render. We can just move it a little bit. We can go to make a group. And we can move, let's say, over there just a little bit, and maybe we can have a little rotation to have something more natural. And back to the material, we can have less reflectivity and just a little bit more freshening reflection. And back in the render, we render just this area. Okay, so we have all we need inside the room. We have enough model. We can check from the other point of view. Everything seems working fine. So we are ready to tune the rendering. But I like to, obviously if you have time, you can put more stuff over the furniture. For example, you can use more books there or something like that. For the moment, I like to start tuning some stuff. And the first thing, for example, is let's reset all the materials there. Let's start working on this one. And let's play with the wood. And I like to see there we have 0.3. And let's see what happened with a lower render. Let's say 900. And open again this one with no area. We can render. Okay, cancel, and I like to render this part and render. So I like to tune up a little bit there the wood, and we can imagine if the problem is the bump, or it is something related to the reflection map and the glossiness map. Okay, so that's our reflection actually. Let's go to have this map with less detail. And let's say that this map control at 65%, and we control the glossiness also manually, sorry, the reflection glossiness. And we can see the result. Okay, let's go for lower reflection, and we can put back a little bit of coloring. And again, render. Okay, so it is less than before, and we can control just with maybe 65% or maybe 60%, and have less reflection there. Let's go for a darker color. Okay, so let's check the glass there. Okay, let's go for 1.4 for the reflectivity and just a little bit of reflection glossiness. And over the rendering, let's try to render this area. Okay, let's remove a little bit of transparency there. Let's go for 240 or 230. Okay, so we have a different density over there. Okay, cancel, and let's go from a point of view where we can see more pavement, maybe the camera number 1. Let's see the other. Okay, this one is nice. So I like to play a little bit with the pavement. So in the rendering view, okay, we can render this area. The carpet is nice. And the pavement is nice too. Okay, let's play a little bit with this material. Okay, so let's go for less reflection glossiness. And let's render again. Okay, I like to have a little bit more reflectivity with less glossiness over. Let's go for 0.8, and we see that we have also the mapping controlling the reflection. And let's go for 80% for the map usage. Okay, it is nicer than before. So I like the pavement, but I like to see also from the other point of view. I think the camera number, maybe the number 6, the number 2, the number 1. Okay, there. Let's see this area, so we can be sure that the shader is ready to be used. Okay, I like it because we have more reflectivity. Then the wood material is nice. Let's see the top area of the room. So render there. Okay, let's pick the material for the roof, and actually there is a noise color with a pure white and just a little bit less white. We have the bump, maybe it is better to have more usage of this bump, and let's change having more reflectivity too, and we control also the glossiness, so let's say 50% for the glossiness and 75%. Then we can render again. Okay, and I like to change a little bit this geometry there. Okay, so let's go to check the shape, and to do something like that we have to hide everything. Okay, that's the shape. So let's zoom there. And we can change a little bit the shape to have something more bigger, and go at full screen. With the loft we have the mapping. This one is the number 1, and we can assign the same material as the ceiling. Let's unisolate all the other stuff, and let's see what happens if we have it on the top area of the room. So back to the camera number 1. Okay, back in the rendering, and I like to see this area. Okay, it is a little bit better than the previous one. So we don't like to have this move. Back to render. Now it will be perfectly linear. Okay, with no smoothing. Nice. So we should have all the stuff needed to render the final image. Maybe I'd like to test this material just for a moment. So let's render this area. Okay, I like to have more reflectivity on this material. So there, let's pick it, and the black stuff can be more reflective, and let's go for 75 for glossiness, and back to the render. We should have a nicer look. Okay, nice. So let's save, and we can put some lights. So we can start putting some more light inside the scene, and we can imagine to have, for example, let's make the first test using a VRay light. We'll do something really simple and really fast, but we can have a VRay light, and let's say that this one is a sphere. We put inside the lamp. Let's go there. Okay, and we have it there. So to work with this one, I like to prepare a state. So let's go there and let's use the state set. And we can call this one daylight render. And now we set a new state. And this one is night time. So we can continue to put more light inside the scene. And let's go at full screen with this one. This one can stay in the middle. And let's zoom out. And we have the other lamp there. And this one is an instance. We can move it manually, and then we have the other light there. So we can move this one using the shift key, but this time is a copy. We go in the middle, and from the camera, let's zoom, and this one will stay there, and it will be a little bit more little. Nice. And then the last one, we make a clone, let's say as a copy, and we put this one inside this lamp. So all these lights are set to off. We can save, and back in the daylight render there in the night time. Let's go to this one and let's record. So this light is set to on. Let's work just on the lights. This one is on. This one is on. This one is on, and this one is the light dawn actually. So this one is off, and I like to see okay. Then we have to set also this one to off, so nighttime set to off this one, or maybe we can just change the timing, so we go to have something around 20. Okay, so back to this one. I think we have a problem. Let's stop and go there. Okay, we have a problem recording this one, so it is better to go there and set to off this light. Okay, this one is recorded in the right way. So let's make a test, and we'll use a lower resolution. and there we can remove and render. Just to be sure that everything is still nice and it's working fine. Okay, everything seems okay. Perfect. So back in the render, let's call this one the night time, and let's see if we have to adjust something. So let's render. And we have still the sun. I think it is due to the environment. That's the problem. So let's try to record and to remove this one. Stop the record. Okay, this one works. Go back there. Okay, and let's check again how it looks. It is possible that we have to tune up also the exposure control, and actually we are using the exposure control from the camera, so I think we have to record there. So record, but maybe we have problems to use to record the light, so the exposure. So maybe the simplest way is just to use the lights. So light number 2, let's go for 300. We use 10 times the power, and this one is the instance. There we can go for 302, and there we go for 300. Okay, stop recording and back to the rendering. Okay, you see that we are starting to have more lighting inside the room. It is still not too much, so maybe we can go higher. And I think we can go higher with the 2 main lights there, and we can go for something more hot. So let's record and back to the light number 2, and this one has a different temperature, so something like that, and it is 500. Then the light 4, this one too, it's a little bit nicer, and it is, let's say, 500. Also this one. So stop recording and back to the rendering. We are preparing a really simple step for the nighttime illumination. It is just to understand how we can play with the lighting and the other stuff on a scene like this one. Let's go in another camera because I like to see how it looks. There the lighting is nice, also there it's going nice. Let's see from the other point of view. there is a problem with this lamp. It is in the wrong position, so you see it is inside the vase. Now it is nice. Let's render a preview for this area. Now we have the right illumination. Okay, so we have everything to render the scene, so we have just to tune up the rendering, and we'll see the same frame with the night time and the daylight. So let's go to this camera to see if it is a nice selection. Let's render. Okay, so back in the render state, and go back to the daylight render. Let's test if it is working. Okay, it is working perfectly. Perfect. So we have to tune up the rendering, but before I save, and let's go in the render elements, and if needed we can use some passes. We'll do maybe some teeny changes just to have more. Before we leave everything, I'd like to add another state set. So add state, and this one is the ambient occlusion. Okay, so this one is simple too. Let's go to this one and let's record. We can set an A-hole material, and this one will be a VRay material. Let's say a light material, and the map is the VRay dirt, and we say maybe 30 centimeters. We are doing the ambient occlusion. We have 16 subdivision, a mid-flight on back side, so we have no problem for faces and normals. Compensate camera exposure, so we can be sure that everything is working nice. And then we need obviously the displacement. We have to remember to put it there, and we have to override the material with an instance. We don't need the global illumination. Okay, stop recording, and it should work. Okay. Okay, so maybe we can just go there and add 32, and let's say that the occlusion is a little bit more, but I made a mistake. So record and 50 and 32 and stop recording. So we have a more general looking for the global illumination. Okay, nice. So we can render manually every single state. So this one can be rendered, let's say 1208. We don't use some render passes because the project is really simple. Let's use the displacement, and we need the anti-alias. And that's all. Let's render. So this one is the first pass we are preparing. Okay, this one is ready, as you can see, so we can render it. And we save on a folder in the interior 9, or maybe directly in the Dropbox. Passes, and let's call it AO.TIFF. We use the 16-bit packbits. Okay, done. Now we have to go to let's render the night time. We have ambient occlusion, let's say -1, or maybe we can go to 0. No ambient occlusion because we have the separate pass, and 2000 there, and there we can go for 32 and 2, and we can render. Okay, so this one is ready. We can save it. Let's call it night.tiff, and then we have to launch the daylight render. So render again, and it is started. And that's the other one. Obviously you can tune up the rendering to obtain better result, but actually it's nice for our test purpose. So that's the sunlight. Okay, sorry. Now inside Fusion we can start making the comp. So there, with the right mouse button, we need an input-output loader. And we can go to load inside our folder. In the Dropbox, okay, there. Let's load the night. Let's Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V to have a copy, and this one will be the sunlight, and Ctrl+V, sorry. Okay, and this one is the AO. So that's the night. Let's go to fit. We need the merge. So composite merge. The back is the night and the foreground is the AO. Then we have to say to the merge that we are talking about a multiply. So then you see we have the possibility to decide how much ambient occlusion we like to have. Then we can go for a color, brightness and contrast. Connect there and then there. So I like to have a little bit more brightness and a little bit more saturation and more contrast. So that's the render, and that's with the ambient occlusion. Let's use a color corrector and connect there and there. So in the color corrector, let's start working with the shadows, and let's find a nice looking. Then let's work on the mid-tones. And then to the master. So with the AB, that's the old one, and that's the new one for the moment. Okay. Then let's add the film grain, just to have a little bit of grain hover. Obviously that's too much. So 0, 0, 15. And I like to add also a little bit of glow, and the glow can be done using the blur glow. So before we go in the glow, and then we go on this one. So talking about the glow, let's have a little bit less, and just a little bit. So that's the first one, and that's the pass we done. Let's see if we have also the possibility to add something more. Okay, I think we can add a mask, and we can go for an ellipse, and we'll use a color, brightness and contrast, and this one will be the mask, and we'll have less brightness, but the ellipse is an invert with the soft edges. So we are simulating the vignetting. A tool, color corrector, and we use the same mask, and we change the color just there. And we remove a little bit of saturation. Then the mask needs softer edge. Okay. So that's the actual result. Let's go back to this level. I'm just playing a little bit with the look. Okay. Maybe just a little bit. So sorry, that's our pure render, and that's the render we just prepared actually. So we can save this one in the right folder. We can copy the name from there. Okay, let's call it comp, and let's see what happens if we have the sunlight image. I think it needs some changes, so let's go for something like a brightness and contrast. So we have more contrast. That's the render and that's the other one. So you see we have more contrast over the image. Then let's use a color corrector, and in general I like to have more saturation, and let's stay to 0 there. And the shadows can change a little bit, the mid-tones and the highlight. So you see how the image is changing. Then we need a merge, and that's the back, and that's the it will be obviously a multiply. Just a little bit, and then let's go for a soft glow this time. The results is obviously there, and I like that it is just a little bit. And the glow size is bigger. Okay. Then it has a thin grain, also this one. The threshold is higher. Sorry. Okay, and there the thin grain is more little. And it is okay. Nice. Then we have again the same, and we can use brightness and contrast. This one is the mask, and in this brightness and contrast we'll have more contrast, less brightness, a little bit less saturation, and then we have a color corrector too, and we move to something like that. Okay. So that's the first one, that's the night time. So again, let's see the AB. This one is the pure rendering, and this one is the compat. So you see how the image is changed and now it looks better than before. And we done just a really simple composite because we are using nothing so complex. So save gain. If you like to output this image, you have just to put some output node there. So that's our final part. We just finished. It was a really simple project to see how to use VRay and the architectural stuff. We'll start soon a new project with a more complex environment, and we'll try also to obtain a more complex and photoreal result. So for the moment that's all, and I hope to see you back on Max Cookie to check for new tutorial coming from cgcookie.com. Bye.